The show starts in 3, 2, 1.
There goes that man's jock strap. Oh my God, did you see that?
America's team? Yeah, right.
Oh, baby, it's a big day in sports.
There's nothing like battling it out with your teammates all season long to go win a championship.
Green Bay's got it this year.
Huge move for them. I think it's going to be a game changer.
We have a lot to talk about this busy week in the sports world. Welcome to the In a League of Their Own podcast.
The In a League of Their Own podcast is brought to you by Golf Kicks. Screw your shoes. By Canadips. Rep Sports. By Smooth My Balls. And by Streamer Loot. Check out the In a League of Their Own merch line today. Welcome to the show. Let's see what Austin and Collin are diving into today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 73 of the In a League of Their Own podcast. For today's fun sports fact, we have for number 73, in 1940, the NFL championship game, the Bears beat the Redskins by a score of 73-0, which still holds both the largest score in an NFL game and the largest win margin. And ironically enough, the two teams met earlier that season, in which the Redskins won 7-3. So second time around, they just moved that dash and put a zero on the other end of it. But still crazy at 73. Still the highest scoring game back in a time when it was all ground and pound. There wasn't really any air threat.
Yeah, that's mad numbers right there. That's insane.
Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, the way the NFL is trending, I mean, last year they had their highest scoring season, and now having a 17th game, it'll probably get broken again this year now that you're going to have 16 more games getting played. But yeah.
You mean one more game being played?
Well, 16 total between 32 teams.
Oh, okay. Now I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So yeah, so you're gonna have hundreds more points being scored now because of that extra week. But
Right.
yeah, then jumping over into the NFL, what is the latest over there?
So the biggest news that I have coming out of the NFL here today was yesterday. The New York Giants ended up having a team-wide brawl that pinned Daniel Jones at the bottom of the pile. Joe Judge, right? That's his name?
Yeah, head coach.
Yeah, he ended up running out onto the field and screaming at everybody, basically saying how you guys are acting like a bunch of lunatics and stuff like that. And he ended up getting them all on the line. And similar back to the movie Miracle, for those of you who've ever watched that, the hockey movie, Herb Brooks got everybody on the line after the game, and they skated and basically until they understood that they were all a team and they're not here to fight each other. Basically, we're going to break you down until you realize that you're all one, in a sense. And that's exactly what Joe Judge did. He made them run 100-yard wind sprints. I guess plenty of the guys are puking. And then afterwards, nothing was said and everybody kind of just walked off. That's kind of a scary moment, knowing that your QB1's in the bottom of a huge pile of your whole team, all because a linebacker cheap shot at your running back. It's very interesting. I watched the tape, and Corey Clement got smoked by one of the linebackers, and then all of a sudden you see the tight end come out of nowhere and just pile drive the guy into the ground, and then it was offense and defense going at it, and then you had guys that were on the sideline standing there like, oh my God, we need to get in this. So everybody, it was like a full team pile up. It was actually pretty crazy. I've never seen a full team in one fight, like going at each other. Like it was usually, you see one or two guys kind of go at it, a receiver in a corner, but no, this was a full team fighting each other.
Yeah, it's crazy too. Daniel Jones was actually interviewed after the practice was done about the whole matter as to why he was in the fight. Because usually quarterbacks are like one of the guys that stay out of it because obviously they realize they're valuable and like they're not used to getting hit like that, so they could get hurt easily. He's like, I'm a part of this team. I felt like I should be a part of it too. And it's just like, I mean, that's a good mindset to have, but at the same time, like you're QB1, like you got to take care of yourself.
Yeah, but also at the same time, that's a huge, for all the players who think of a QB1 as that guy that stays out of all the shit, to see a teammate go into that and know that he's going to be right there by your side if shit hits the fan, that's a huge that's a huge win for Daniel Jones, winning the trust of a lot of his teammates and head coach, the whole organization. He's willing to do what it takes, and whether that means putting his body on the line for something not related to throwing the football.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to look at it too. I mean,
I'd rather have that guy than the QB that runs away.
yeah, that's true.
That's just me though.
Yeah. I mean, as a young guy, like I could see him more, but like I wouldn't expect like Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers to go diving into a pile.
They should though.
But I mean, when you're young, like Daniel Jones, I feel like you can take it a little bit better. But those guys are upper 30s. Fucking Brady just turned 44 today or yesterday or whatever. So I don't know.
If that's part of the job, though, if you
Yeah,
want to be on the team and earn the millions of dollars that you're going to get paid, it should be expected of you to do whatever it takes, whether that's standing up for your teammates or whatever the case may be.
yeah.
Just like that was the biggest thing that I've always noticed about just the team atmospheres is everybody doesn't like the guy who they don't trust when shit's on the line. Like when it's on the line, like if you hit someone and it looks bad and the guy gets up and starts fighting you and you're outnumbered, you got to trust that your teammates are coming in to help you. Otherwise, what are you doing on the team? You know what I mean? Like if you're not around people that you don't trust, you won't be successful either.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. I've seen it time and time again. In the winning teams that I've been on, those kids don't make it. They're not there long because everybody realizes who they really are, and you can't trust the guy.
I feel like it's rare though, thinking about it too, like Daniel Jones jumping in the pile. Usually the quarterback is the one getting like a cheap shot or something. So he's usually the one getting stood up for. So usually he gets pulled out of the mix while everybody else fights. Usually it's not another fight going on and the quarterback jumping into it.
Says, "Oh yeah, let's go."
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. Going over to something people aren't gonna love is Colts fans take another huge hit to their offense with offensive line star Quentin Nelson going to be out for 5 to 12 weeks. What does that sound like? Same foot injury as Carson Wentz. They're both going through the same protocol, literally a couple days apart. So yeah, that's a huge hit for that offense. Again, losing your QB1 and your best offensive lineman on top of it. So before the season even starts, the Colts are kind of in a tough spot right now.
Yeah, but there is some good news out of this whole thing. Turns out he made a post on Twitter the other day, or literally right after this news went out, basically stating how this offseason he's already undergone 3 surgeries. He's already went through 3 rehabs, and he's glad that he's getting this taken care of because he doesn't want it to linger on any more than it has already. And he's pumped. He said, whenever I get back, I want to be back to 100% and meet all my goals and goals for the team. And basically, I forgot what the acronyms that he put at the end, but it was like show up and do your job and something else, where it was like really inspirational. And it's just like, damn, if he's already went through 3 surgeries this offseason, obviously a 4th one I don't think is going to get in the way of this guy getting back.
Yeah.
And plus, maybe it's not, like I said, that team's got some depth on their team. So if they can even stay middle of the road with the division that they're in without those guys, that's just added rest for them when they do come back to see what they can do with the rest of the season.
Yeah, I know they brought in a couple other guys too to kind of beef up that offensive line. They added some other people. So, and offensive linemen nowadays are so versatile. Back 10, 20 years ago, a tackle was a tackle, a guard was a guard, a center was a center. Now you see guys playing all positions and they can move around everywhere. So
next best man up.
Yeah.
That's don't matter. Exactly right. And I feel like that's for a lot of positions too now, where you see a lot of maybe wide receivers getting transferred into corners, safeties, tight ends into linebackers, or vice versa. You see a lot of different changes, or linebackers to edge rushers playing the outside. You see a lot of versatility now, like you said, a lot more than you used to see back in the day. And that's all, that's a great thing, for all these young kids out there, that they don't necessarily have to focus on one specific position. They can just go out there and play.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, that's good for the player in two ways. One, it gives them more money because they're more versatile. So when contract talk comes, I can do, instead of I can do this, it's I can do this, this, and this. And plus, it makes their careers, I don't know if I'd say last longer, but it gives them more options to where if you're a receiver, your team brings in the best receiver in the league. Oh, I'm going to go be a tight end now. I can be a cornerback, to where either you stay on that team in a different role or another team can pick you up for a different role. So kind of keeping your mind open and having that IQ to know more than one position is going to help you in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. And then speaking of keeping your mind open, Philip Rivers came out and publicly stated that he's staying ready and is not going to close the door on a possible NFL return. Um, this comes weeks after he took the head coaching job of his son's high school football coach. So he said that he's not going to be full in, on coaching, and he's still going to stay ready and be ready to, which is, awesome for him. He's got the perfect setup, pretty much throwing to these young high school kids in practice, staying ready whenever, I guarantee you, with, how this whole COVID thing's kind of coming back and people are, missing games and missing time. I definitely see a kind of like the shuffle we had with the quarterbacks last year, where there's a big carousel of guys that got to play who haven't played in a long time. I feel like this season is going to be nothing short of that. I feel like this season is going to surpass that with injuries and, just all these protocols and stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's actually kind of funny because Philip Rivers just retired from the Colts, and now the Colts are in QB trouble. I feel like that could be one of the first teams he goes back to, is right back to his old team, because that was one of the things he said is staying ready. He said that he'd be more than willing to come out of retirement to a team in need of a QB later in the season that has injury, or like you said, maybe COVID issues. But again, he said later in the season, so I don't know if that means he's committed to his football team for now, because the like high school football only goes till October, November is usually when like the championship games are. So maybe closer to the end of his high school season that he'd be willing to come back to the NFL, but also they'd be cutting it close to when that trade deadline is going to be. But also I don't know how that works for guys coming out of retirement. I don't know
Yeah,
if you
it
can.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Same with free agents. You can pick them up at anytime during this, even through the postseason. The
Yeah,
Packers last season, we picked up a couple guys before that last game,
yeah.
just to cover injuries and stuff, because you have to, in those cases. I believe 53 is the number on the roster. So if you have to have 53 guys, you can't play with any less or more. So there's always guys, getting that phone call that are sitting at home or doing something else now, saying, hey, we need you to come back and fill in for a little bit. And like his position, he's probably going to see, like you said, the Colts. If Carson Wentz does come back, how healthy is he going to be when he does come back? Is he going to get hurt? And then you just talk about flipping to quarterbacks playing through injuries and tough guys. Matt Stafford, he fractured his finger off of a helmet the other day, and they told him that he should have sit out of practice, and he told them, no, I'm going to be out here. I'm here to practice. I need to learn what I'm here to do. And Aaron Donald came out and said, I don't think I've ever seen as tough of a guy as Matthew Stafford in my entire life. Just as his drive, it's more than, he's almost a nut for playing football. It doesn't matter if he's got broken ankles, broken legs, as long as he can take a snap and throw, he's going to be out there playing. So I think that's awesome to see him, kind of, I wouldn't say getting the notoriety finally now that he's in Los Angeles, but after listening to Calvin Johnson, he was on the Pat McAfee show the other day, and he was just talking about why, like, Detroit, Barry Sanders and him both retired in their prime, like they were, and he spoke out about why things didn't work out, and it came down to communication. They paid him all the money that he wanted. They didn't take any of his input on any conversations. And then they went on and said, if you could have gotten traded, where was one place that you would have loved to play? And you want to take a guess what he said?
I know the answer because you're talking about who was trying to recruit him, right?
Yeah.
Green Bay.
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And he's done with his whole thing, and he's got his own, I think he's got his own cannabis company that he does this thing for, which is really great, and doing all that on as far as like the recovery side of things and just taking care of yourself. And he seems to be living his best life. He still keeps in touch with a lot of the guys that he played with and still wishes them success. And yeah, he just talked about Matt Stafford and just how he was just such a tough son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and how you could always, as far as like the going back to that trusting that we talked about, you could trust that he was always going to be out there making the right play no matter what is on the line.
Yeah. And it makes me think back. I can't remember what year it was. It was probably late 2000s, early 2010s.
With the broken ribs?
With the separated shoulder, when again, I think it was against the Browns. He had defensive lineman land on him. He was in the huddle, and the coach was like, he was like telling them to come out. It was like it was for the win too. It was like late in the fourth quarter. He's like, I can throw the ball, I'm fine. Zings a touchdown. And he goes off the field. And he's just like holding his shoulder. But yeah, that's just like one of those iconic Matthew Stafford moments that when the game's on the line, he's going to be out there. He kind of reminds me of like talking about hockey all the time, where after the Stanley Cup final, where this guy had this broken and that was wrong with them and this wrong with them. I think that's every year with Matthew Stafford. Offseason comes, oh, he was playing with a broken ankle all year, or he had a separated shoulder, or broken ribs all year. He's just one of those guys that it sucks that if he was able to stay healthy, what kind of career he would have had. Obviously, being in Detroit hurt him, but regardless, if he could have stayed healthy. But even beyond that, there's so many guys that, they get hurt and it's all over the media, all over the news, and it's like, oh, he's out again. But Matthew Stafford has just been one of those guys that doesn't come out till after the season. It just makes you appreciate that guy that much more.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to think that now later in the latter half of his career, he's finally getting a decent offensive line, and he's finally getting weapons again. He kind of lost all of them once Megatron left. It's going to be I feel like he's on pace where he could, I don't know. I called Jameis for MVP, but I don't know. I feel like if he can stay healthy, I feel like he could potentially have an MVP type season because he puts in the work. He's always, he's not a bad quarterback. It's been like the guys around him, because he's done, he tries as hard as he can every single time. And you see that just by looking at the guy on the sidelines, and after he's fully invested. And I don't know. I feel like maybe he's got some magic here going out to LA, new piece of environment. The wind's a little breezier over there.
Yeah.
Sun's a little nicer.
Mm-hmm.
You don't got the winters, all that type of stuff that could be a factor.
Yeah. But on the flip side, all the good things he's getting into, he is moving to the hardest division in football. So we'll see how he takes that, having Aaron Donald, having that Seahawks defense, that 49ers defense coming at him 6 times a year. Oh, yeah. That's right.
But yeah, that is
JJ Watt. Yeah. All these guys that either have been there for years or have moved out there recently. 6 times a year, you got to deal with those defenses coming at you.
Yeah, it wasn't, by no means is this an easy task, to go out there. But I feel like a guy who's going to embrace that is going to be a guy like Matthew Stafford, or a guy like, Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, who wants a challenge, who wants that next level of competition. And Stafford's always been about that, and we're going to get to see it with our own eyes if he can do it or not.
Yeah. And then sticking, I guess, with the NFC North here for another point, is another fuck up is Vikings cornerback Jeff Gladney was released by the team yesterday after being charged with felony assault in Dallas against a woman he previously had a relationship with. So
yeah, he choked her out.
Oh, is that what happened? I didn't even see what the details were. Yeah,
it was strangulation and something else. Whatever the case may be, but if he is guilty, he will be. It said minimums in Texas, because that's where it happened. The minimum penalty, if found guilty, is 10 years in prison. So, He'll definitely be doing the time if he did the crime.
Yeah.
And it looks like he did the crime, so.
Yeah. I guess another fuck up that happened too over in the Panthers squad. They had a scare yesterday as receiver Keith Kirkwood had to be taken off the field on a stretcher after being hit illegally in the head by safety JT Ibe or Ib. I'm not sure how you say that. That safety would then be later released by that team that same day. And then also later that day, Kirkwood was released from the hospital and he was diagnosed with a concussion. So looks like he's going to be okay. The only video I saw of it was like from a fan, and it was like a long ways away to where you could just barely see the collision and there's people moving. You couldn't really see what was going on. So, I mean, obviously the coaches, everybody who was there saw that what happened, obviously thought it was warranted enough to let the guy go for the hit that he put on. But I guess maybe another video will come out, but at the same time, what's done is done. And yeah, sucks that I don't even think, I don't know if he was a rookie or if he was just a free agent that recently got signed or what it was.
He's a rookie.
It was a rookie. So
that's just a guy fucking trying super hard and wanting to make a play. It's just unlucky.
yeah.
And I feel like for a team to literally cut a guy for that, I feel like that's not cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. His whole life for what? For one mistake?
Mm-hmm.
Like, fuck you.
Yeah. I don't know if a team would come back on it and take him back, but
another team will pick him up. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Another team would be like, oh, this guy fucking smashes guys. Okay, come on over.
Yeah. Yeah, and the last point I had for the NFL then was that Deshaun Watson did not practice yesterday for an undisclosed reason. Head coach Collin refused to comment on his reason for his absence and just said that they're kind of taking it day by day with him. And yeah, he didn't want to give the reason as to why he wasn't out there. So whether that means it was injury, whether that means that the Texans are close to a deal to move him elsewhere, and Deshaun Watson's just protecting his body and doesn't want to get hurt before he gets traded. I guess who knows, but yeah.
What I heard through the grapevine of reporting and doing my own digging into this whole thing, he didn't return any of the phone calls yesterday from head coach or any of the trainers. And I don't know how I should say, like, it was like reported. It wasn't like big news or anything. I don't even know if it got taken down, but it was a speculative thing that something with the case took a wrong turn, and now this is not looking really good for him. So he's trying to just keep out of all public eye at this point and just be, keep to himself at his house for as long as he can. Obviously, Houston Texans, said that they're going to take some trades, but I feel like this is going to put a definite big pause on that. I feel like Texans are going to be stuck with him paying his cab, and he ain't going to be there.
Yeah. I could see, too, like how we were talking about the one team that was interested in him was the Eagles, where
anymore.
Yeah, it looks like Jalen Hurts has been doing really well through camp, to where I feel like they're kind of waiting it out with him to see if he was just going to shit the bed through camp, that they'd go after Watson. Now, like you said, he's pretty much stuck there unless before week 1, if a starting QB goes down somewhere with a long-term injury. I mean, like even Wentz, but I know that Indianapolis was never in the conversation to go out and get him. So I don't know. I haven't seen since Carson Wentz has gone down. I haven't seen Watson's name pop up once by any reporters within the Colts organization thinking about them going after Watson. So that doesn't seem like it's even in question. So,
no, they said whatever his name, Eason's their guy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, since he's been taking QB1 reps, haven't heard anything bad about him yet. I mean, it's only been a couple of days, but for him to step up in a situation where he's basically preparing to be that number 2 role all year, and all of a sudden, boom, hey, you're QB1 now, to just jump right into that, it seems like he's taking it pretty well so far.
Yeah, and that's just like Tyrod Taylor taking advantage of this opportunity with Deshaun Watson missing time, and his stance of not wanting to play. after the medical mistake that happened to him last season where he ended up having to miss the whole season. Now he's got another shot to get himself another contract by getting QB1 reps and QB1 time. Obviously, the team isn't as good as the team that he was on with the Buffalo Bills before. And then the Dolphins when I think that he was Chargers when that happened. Before what's his name? Herbert came in and took over. But that was a guy who was QB1. Herbert wasn't the plan to step in and take over during the season. He was kind of there to learn underneath Taylor. And then you have his opportunity taken away. Now he gets another one, here down in Houston. So hope he makes the most of it down there.
Yeah. And he's one of those
I've always liked him.
Yeah. He was kind of one of those like versatile guys before they're like your Baker Mayfields, your Kyler Murrays, like your smaller, quicker guys. Tyrod Taylor, well, I mean RG3, I guess, was kind of the first one to come onto the scene in that kind of role of smaller guy but can run and throw. But yeah, Tyrod Taylor's right there too, and he's one of those guys getting to the end of his career to where if he doesn't make the most of it in Houston,
that'll probably be it.
Yeah, probably it. I don't see him taking another QB2 role or just sitting on the bench for another team to where he realizes I'm getting old unless I'm a QB1. He's probably made enough money throughout his career to where he doesn't need to play anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And then speaking of another quarterback situation that's kind of interesting, the Pittsburgh Steelers came out and said they're not ruling out the return of Ben Roethlisberger for the 2022 season. Also, reports have backup quarterback Dwayne Haskins. People are saying he's all the way back. He's back to looking like when he won the Heisman.
I don't know if he did. I'm gonna look it up
because I know he was one of the nominees for sure.
Yeah, he was one of the finalists. Oh, he finished third. I wonder who won it that year. I can't remember what. Oh, Kyler Murray.
Okay.
It was Kyler Murray, Tua Tagovailoa, and then Haskins.
And Haskins was on the one team that had way less star power with Ohio State at that time. That was the year where Ohio State turned into the superpower, where they saw Dwayne Haskins and what they could do with the wide receiver group, where now they get all the wide receivers and quarterbacks, influxing to Ohio State for that offense. So it's going to be, him being Mac, giving competition with Ben Roethlisberger. He shits the bed this season or gets hurt. Look for Dewey Haskins. People are saying that he's grown up a lot. He's not a child anymore, being that young and going straight into the NFL, being a star. He started right away. So that's kind of a lot of pressure for a guy who's really young. And obviously, as you get older, you mature a little bit more. And I feel like people are saying it looks and seems like he's got his head in the right place. He's putting in the work and he's doing really well. So hopefully he gets another shot, at some point.
Yeah. Although I feel like Pittsburgh isn't going to be the spot for him because Mason Rudolph is still the QB2 ahead of him. And actually yesterday, Mike Tomlin announced that for tomorrow's Hall of Fame game that Mason Rudolph is going to be the starter. So, Mason Rudolph kind of kept the ship afloat while Roethlisberger was out. But yeah, I don't know. Haskins obviously has a lot of potential.
He's got to earn that back, Yeah, he's got to earn it.
Mm-hmm. And plus, he didn't do the best when he was in Washington either. So, yeah, he's got a big uphill to climb, an uphill climb to make. And next year could be a chance for him again with all these players on 1-year contracts this year. People are going to be looking around for other options at quarterback if who they have right now isn't working out for them. And so long as he keeps his head on straight and has a really good preseason, this preseason is going to be his time to get on the field and show what he's got still.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I had for the NFL. If you had any other points to throw out there.
No, that's all I had as well.
Sounds good. Then it is a Wednesday, so jumping into our Wisconsin Wednesday segment. What you got for us going on in the Big W?
So one of the biggest sports things that I have coming out of the great old state of Wisconsin, um, the WIAA has released 2021 and 2022 boys and girls basketball playoff. Basically, announcements and assignments. Stuff has now changed, obviously, during this COVID pandemic, and also the rates that people are having kids at nowadays are increasing the class sizes for these schools, and that is kind of how they do it here in the big old state of Wisconsin. School size basically represent what division you compete in for athletics. So there's just been a few changes here. There's been a handful of schools that now are going to be moving up and moving down into other schools here. So just to name a few here, who's going to be joining D1, Hortonville, Kaukauna, and Milwaukee Marshall. All were previously D2, are now all D1. That's kind of all that's kind of the big ones here. There was a handful that have dropped down and whatever, but other than that, yeah, they just thought that due to fans and all that stuff like that, just because of COVID, and now we have these two new variants, the Delta and whatever the other one's called. These things seem to be coming back, and they just want to try to make things as safe as possible, and travel reasons as well. It seems like some of those schools are located a little bit better. And then the last thing that I have before I kick it off to you, high school football looks to kick off Friday night here. I drove by my old high school the other day when I was in town, and saw them out on the field scrimmaging. So know that the first game's right around the corner, and the news mentioned it the other night as well, that we're about to kick off here. And just had me flashback, 10, 12 years ago when I was still in high school, and it's just August. Oh, school started soon. Totally didn't even realize that. And I was like, I had like a light go off in my brain, like, oh my God, that's right. That's so long ago. But yeah, high school football looks to kick off Friday Night Lights. I just got back onto a binge of that show. It's got me all fired up for football here. So what do you got?
Yeah, so moving over to some Badgers news. Former Wisconsin Badger Sam Decker returns to the U.S. after playing overseas to join the Toronto Raptors. So he had a short stint over, I believe, in a Turkish league, or for the Turkish team. Something with Turkey was the name I saw out there. So great to see him back in the U.S. Recently, I think his most recent team was the Rockets before he went back overseas. So good addition for the Raptors there. So yeah, and then another Wisconsin Badger, Micah Potter, saw the court yesterday in his first summer league game with Miami Heat. He put up 9 points, making 4 out of 6 of his shots, 2 blocks and a rebound in 14 minutes. So yeah, great game for him to kind of shine out there for the Heat. With more NBA news, our Milwaukee Bucks re-signing Bobby Portis to a 2-year, $9 million deal after he declined his player option, which was for $3.1 million. So obviously he was looking to get more money. Obviously very well deserved, and great to see him staying in Milwaukee for at least 2 more years. And then over to the Northwoods League, not much has changed as far as the divisions go. The same 4 teams lead those divisions. The playoffs are less than 2 weeks away, and the defending champion Pitt Spitters sit tied for second in the Great Lakes East Division with Kenosha, and they both sit 2 games back from first place. As far as a playoff bracket, it's the top 2 teams of all 4 divisions. So if the Pitt Spitters are going to make a run for defending their title, they're going to have to make some headway here to get ahead of Kenosha, or even try to catch I think it's the Kokomo Jackrabbits are the top team in that division right now. So yeah, that season's winding down here in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, good stuff. Always exciting to go out and catch one of those games.
Yeah, I got to try to go to at least one more. Doc Spiders are still leading the division as well. I think they're up a game and a half over second and over 8 games on third. So they're pretty much guaranteed to get to the playoffs, and they just won it in 2018 as well. So,
Looking to get back after it.
yeah. So yeah, then jumping over to the MLB here, then
Or the NBA.
or the NBA, yeah, duh.
Mm.
Gosh, getting ahead of myself here. Yeah, what you got over in the NBA?
So there's been some big signings over the past couple days, some huge extensions. First, going to touch on Blake Griffin. He's returning to the Brooklyn Nets on a 1-year deal. The numbers haven't been released about that yet. So it's good for him, staying on that team. That team added another player as well. I forgot who they had. Oh, Patty Mills. That's right. They added Patty Mills to that lineup, who's a 3-point shooter. He's a 3-point specialist. So that team could potentially be dangerous if they all stay healthy. Obviously, the same, they have the same expectations as last season. Nothing's changed there. Just trying to be healthy there. Trae Young from the Atlanta Hawks agrees to the max extension worth up to $207 million with all bonuses if that's all hit. So shout out to him. Steph Curry also secures one of the biggest bags all time. He's got the highest player value. I think he's making over $50 million a season. He secured a 4-year, $215 million extension. Obviously, he wants to stay in Golden State his whole entire career. He's kind of built his legacy there, really being nobody in college, kind of to the kid who changed the NBA. It's very cool. His legacy there. And then speaking of legacies, they're also creating a 75th anniversary uniforms that are making like a throwback to Wilt Chamberlain era. So I thought that was pretty cool. What do you got going on?
Yeah, just a couple more signings. Kemba Walker is going to be joining the Knicks. He was in Boston. OKC picked him up. OKC agreed to buy out his contract to let him walk, and now he's going to be a New York Knicks. So Kemba is kind of moving around a lot this offseason, but that's a good landing spot for him in New York after they just finally got back to the playoffs this past year. So great addition for them there. On Monday, a speculated signing did go through. Lakers signed Carmelo Anthony to a 1-year contract, and now the average age on that team, I think it was like 32 and a half years old. So that's all going to be an old team there. And then another team kind of coming out of the shadows, at least looking like they're going to be this year, is the Chicago Bulls, as they recently acquired Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso.
DeMar DeRozan.
And DeMar DeRozan are all going to be in Bulls uniforms. So look for them to kind of make some noise in the East. Obviously, the East is going to be a really tough spot, especially being there with the Bucks, the 76ers, the Nets, the Heat, kind of making some moves as well. I guess moving into that, they acquired PJ Tucker, who just won a championship with the Bucks. He moves down to Miami along with Kyle Lowry. So that's going to be another stacked team in the East. So
that team's going to be dangerous. He's going to give them that fire that he gave the Bucks, and that team's full of young guys. I don't know. I feel like, honestly, as much as I loved him on the Bucks, I feel like for a perfect fit, I feel like that is a perfect fit for him.
Yeah, I agree. He's going to be one of those guys again that's going to average 0 to 5 points a game, 30 minutes, but he's going to just shut down the other team's best scorer as much as he can. So, yeah, sucks to see him go, but obviously great to see him go to another team where he can win another chip. Looking through it all. Yeah, and then the last point here for basketball is Team USA takes down Spain 95-81. I believe that was early Tuesday morning.
Thank you, KD.
Yeah, and they will face Australia in the semifinals for the rights to go to the gold medal match. And on the other side of the bracket, Luka Doncic has led Slovenia to the semifinals as well, and they will play France to play whoever the winner of Australia-USA is. So
I think that's so awesome that Luka's led Slovenia to the semifinals. and they've never won a medal in basketball ever. So win or lose, they're going to have a shot to play for a medal. So I think that's awesome. That I forgot what it was. He's 18-0 when he's played for Slovenia. Something nuts. It was something out of this world that when he's played for the national team that they've never lost. So let's see if he can keep that going. I know he's one of the up and coming, fun young stars to watch in the NBA, and you get to see him razzle dazzle here in the Olympics.
For sure. And that game is going to be on Thursday, I believe. And then, no, later tonight is the USA game. And then Saturday will be the gold medal match over there. So if you got the Peacock, you can go over and watch it on the Cock. Unfortunately, I don't have it. So I just watch it on reruns on USA or NBC whenever they show it later in the day. But yeah. Do you have any other NBA points to throw out there?
No, not really. Other than the Utah Jazz, the league's top team, regular season team last season, they're bringing back Rudy Gay for a 2-year deal. They extended him. And then the last thing is John Collins, Trae Young's kind of sidekick there in Atlanta. He agreed to a 5-year, $125 million deal with them. So Trae Young and John Collins will be in Atlanta, for at least the next 4 or 5 years. And with the young kids that they got, let's kind of see what they got. And then did you mention Markieff Morris also going to the Heat?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he's also finalizing a deal with the Heat. So Heat are loading up.
Yeah, it's good. I feel like all these teams are loading up. I mean, even the Bucks too, they made a couple moves, not anybody big in free agency. Aside from George Hill, I think they're close to a deal to bring him back to Milwaukee. Aside from that, it's just a lot of their draft picks they're signing and some smaller guys for putting through the summer league and some bench players and stuff. But it seems like all the teams in the East are loading up because they all realize that the Nets should have gone the distance if they were healthy. And next year, I'm sure they're going to try to do the right things to stay healthy. So all these teams are loading up to try to go toe to toe with Brooklyn.
Yeah, it's a fun thing. NBA's changed so much where it's really fun day by day, kind of what happens there as they're, it's kind of a whole bunch of friends that are playing in the same league together.
Yeah, you're starting to see that a lot more and more of guys who either were high school teammates, college teammates, all starting to get together, like Carmelo Anthony and LeBron James, who came into the league the same draft year. Can't remember what year they were drafted, early 2000s, obviously, but yeah, great to see them finally team up and get some time on the court together. So yeah, then moving over to the MLB here, I guess I'll start with the bad news of the Brewers. They let one slip through their fingers last night after an 8-5 loss in extra innings to the Pirates. Adrian Hauser led the crew through 6 1/3 innings, having not given up a run or a hit, so he had a no-hitter, and the Brewers held a 4-0 lead. The Pirates would then rally to tie 5-5 in the 9th and would go on to win by 3 in the 10th. After the game, Craig Counsell was questioned for pulling Hauser during his no-hitter bed, and he said that they lowered his pitch count recently, and they had no intentions of him ever finishing the game, no matter how he was doing. So, looks like it was all planned out going into that game. Of course, that sucks. I'm sure Hauser wanted to stay out there, but whether
baseball's a long season.
Yeah, it's a long season. So losing one game now and then isn't going to hurt them. The Brewers are still top of the division by a landslide, so nothing to worry about there. And then sticking with the Brewers, after making his first appearance since 2018, John Axford is placed on the IL list after suffering a right elbow injury Monday night. His appearance was cut short after he was I don't know exactly what happened. Obviously, right elbow injury could
That's
be.
what happens when you aren't throwing gas for 8 years. Then you
Yeah. So
come
great to see him back. Hopefully, he'll be back again out on the mound soon. Um, the Rockies rout the Cubs 13-6 yesterday on a Diaz grand slam. Max Scherzer looks to get his first start on the mound as a Dodger tonight as they host the Astros. And U.S. baseball beats Dominican Republic 3-1 to keep their gold medal hopes alive. They will play defending champion South Korea tomorrow night for a spot in the gold medal game against Japan. So U.S. baseball is in that spot right now where they're going to be playing for a medal no matter what. Hopefully it's for the gold.
Yeah, that'd be really neat to see that.
Yeah, that's all I had for the MLB.
I got two things really quick here. Cole Hamels is coming out of retirement from the Phillies to return to the MLB. And guess what effing team he's on? The Dodgers. They're loading up on pitching again. So they're making a push. They're going all in this season. And it's so funny that the opening game between the Astros and the Dodgers last night opened, and all of the fans were banging on trash cans as they were walking out on the field. So I thought that was really funny. Obviously, no one's gonna ever forget. No one's ever gonna let them down for that. I feel like for the history of existence moving forward, and I think that's hilarious. And then the last thing that I have is, I don't know if he's a long lost relative or what, but Colby Allard is expected to start tonight for the Texas Rangers against the Los Angeles Angels. He's not doing the hottest on the mound this year, 2-9 with a 5.23 ERA, 70 strikeouts on the year. So, yeah, shout out to you, Colby, and give me a dub for the Allard name here.
That's awesome. All right, then. Over to the hockey world. What's going on over there?
So over in the NHL, nothing really crazy happening going on here. Buffalo Sabres hired their ex-captain Michael Pekka as a minor league assistant coach. Alex Ovechkin's 5-year, $47.5 million deal. Some of the details came out about that, and a lot of it is due to performance. A lot of that is performance-related money that he's getting there. The Chicago Blackhawks finally have pledged to release the findings of the investigations into the sexual assault allegations by their former assistant coach. So stuff will be coming out about that pretty soon here. And the biggest thing, I guess, coming out right now is the newest team in the NHL has made a faulty trade offer. The NHL is rejecting Seattle Kraken's deal with goaltender Philip Grubauer, noting a violation of front-loaded contract rules. He signed a 6-year, $35.4 million deal with the expansion team on Wednesday with an average value of 5.9 against the cap. However, the NHL rejected that because, according to the rejection, the $1.5 million variance in salary from 2022 to 2023 is $6 million, and then from 23 to 24 is 7.5, and that exceeds the 25% of the first year salary rule against the contract. So they've already taken a $250,000 penalty and fine from this faulty trade that they tried to sneak through here, or not trade, but faulty signing that they signed free agent goaltender Philip Grubauer. So now it's going to be interesting to see what happens here as they've rejected the signing. This is the first time I've ever seen that. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out here.
Well, they just
really it.
Sign him to like a different contract. That's legal.
Yeah. I think that's what they're going to have to do. I think they're just going to have to redo the paperwork basically and get the numbers correct. But yeah, that penalty, the $250,000 hitting against, the team in a penalty.
For a team that's made $0 in revenue. That's coming out of the owner's pocket right away.
Yeah, because he was the one that obviously made tried to make that move. So he's got to pay for it. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see kind of what happens around the NHL here. But right now it's kind of the quiet time. Players are out on the golf courses, swinging the clubs, hanging out with their family that they don't really get to spend time with all season long as they're on the road traveling and stuff. So, yeah, really quiet around the NHL right now.
Sounds good. Then over to the Olympics, which are kind of getting down the home stretch here. Couple people to highlight is one being a Thing Mu won Olympic gold yesterday for the women's 800-meter run. Simone Biles in her return on the balance beam gets the bronze. As mentioned before, Kevin Durant leads Team USA to beat Spain. Gabby Thomas takes the bronze in the women's 200. And then was it Jamaica? Oh, Elaine Thompson Hera. That was the one that went for like the sweep or whatever.
Yep,
Correct.
she's done it twice now. Only Usain Bolt's done that on the men's side. She's the first woman to do that.
To win the 200 and the 100
in 2 Olympics in a row.
Yeah, and then last one I'll throw out there. Obviously, there's a lot going on, so I'm not gonna go forever on all of them. Tamra Stock wins United States' second wrestling gold medal of the games. So great to see wrestling still holding on in the U.S. in a country that obviously isn't known for their wrestling. Great to see U.S. taking home a medal.
Yeah, and then one thing that I have to mention for the U.S. is in the 400-meter hurdles. United States women, Sydney McLaughlin and Dalila Muhammad, who are top American runners, they smashed. Sydney McLaughlin smashed the world record. Dalila Muhammad also ended up beating the world record as well when they went 1-2 in the 400-meter hurdles for the U.S. women. So thought that was awesome that we got, one of the top runners usually, in the Olympics. Anything, in sports, I shouldn't just say the Olympics, but especially the Olympics when there's so much more on the line as far as stress and mental being there. It's kind of awesome that they ended up pulling that off 1-2 and got U.S. a couple medals right there. And then one thing that I'm looking forward to tonight is at 7 p.m. April Ross and Alex, whatever, I forgot her last name. Kleinman. They take on, I think it's Switzerland. They take on tonight at 7:00 in the semis. So hoping to go for gold. That's going to be an amazing match to watch as we're coming down to the best teams in the world here.
Sounds good. That's gotta suck for Muhammad coming in second, being the world record. It's like, cool, I beat the world record, but she beat it more than I did. But I mean, she's number 2 then on the list. There'll be 1-2 for best times then.
Yeah, because Dalila Muhammad, she actually had the world record and won the last Worlds. And then this McLaughlin just came out of nowhere, and this is her first Olympics. And she's the young buck who's just unbelievable.
Oh, cool. That's all I had for today then.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you everyone for stopping by. We really appreciate all the support and likes and, views and stuff that we've gotten over the past week or two here. We really appreciate it a ton. We do the show, for you guys, and we love doing what we're doing. So we're going to continue to do that job. Don't forget to comment anything or message us if, there's something that you think that have a question or something that you think that we could do better. We always appreciate the feedback and all that type of stuff. So we just really want to, kind of give you guys an applause for being, sticking by us and supporting us on our journey here of making this podcast becoming a thing. So we really appreciate that. Don't forget to, like, follow, subscribe to all of our socials all across the board. You can find those in the link in the description below to our channel. Also, don't forget to get some merch out there, sharing the word with your eyes more than your, mouth kind of helps us a little bit more. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, give us the 5-star rating, helps us move up the charts. And we will be back on Friday for Feel Good Friday, and hope everybody has a great hump day.
See you Friday, everybody.